You're listening to Coupled With, the podcast that helps you take the guesswork out of feeling seen, heard, and valued in your relationship. If you've ever felt stuck in the same arguments, struggled to stay connected, or wondered how to better communicate with your partner, you're in the right place. I'm Dr. Rachel Orlick, a couples therapist and coach, and together, we're going to make relationships make sense. Let's dive in. It always starts the same way. One of you wants to talk, to fix it, to feel close again. The other, they're done, checked out, quiet, scrolling. I can't do this right now. And just like that, the dance begins. You're spiraling, replaying the fight, rereading the texts, rewriting your approach. They're avoiding eye contact, stuck in silence, physically there, but miles away. And every move you make to reach them seems to push them further away. If you've ever found yourself crying in the kitchen while your partner walks out without looking back, or if you've ever felt the heat rising in your chest as they chase you down the hallway begging you to just talk, this episode is for you. This is the classic pursue, withdraw cycle. And it is so much more than a personality mismatch. It's not about being too emotional or too avoidant. These aren't flaws, they're strategies. What you're caught in isn't about who cares more. It's about what your nervous system learned to do when closeness felt risky. And until you can see the cycle for what it is, you'll keep blaming the person in front of you instead of the pattern between you. My clients tell me this is the most maddening part. I know we love each other, but we just keep missing each other. It looks like no matter how hard you try, you're either chasing or being chased. Like you're either too much or not enough. This episode won't fix the whole thing, but it will help you understand what's happening underneath the fight. Why you push, why they pull away, and how this pattern makes sense even when it hurts like hell. It doesn't usually start with a big betrayal or explosive fight. Most of the time, it actually starts with something small. A sigh, a tone shift, a delayed text. One partner picks up on it immediately. Their body tenses, their thoughts start racing, and within seconds, they're trying to figure out what went wrong. The other partner, they might not even realize anything shifted. Or they do, but it feels like being pulled into quicksand. My clients tell me, I just wanted to understand why he was being distant, and suddenly I'm the bad guy. Or she kept pushing me to talk, and the more I tried to explain that I needed space, the more cornered I actually felt. The harder one person tries to connect, the harder the other tries to escape. And that push-pull dynamic builds really fast. One person ramps up, they talk more, they ask more questions, they send another message. It's not desperation, it's a protest. They're protesting that connection feels broken. They're protesting that something's off and they're trying to fix it. But what looks like working on it and passion and intensity to one partner can feel like an attack to the other. And then the second partner disappears. Whether that's emotionally, physically, or both, they go still, they shut down, maybe they even ghost, even if they're still in the room. This is the moment that the roles lock in. Pursuer, withdrawer, but neither one is really in control anymore. They're in the pattern. It's on autopilot. That pursuer isn't trying to be overwhelming. They're terrified. The withdrawer isn't trying to be cruel. They're overwhelmed. But in the moment, both feel hurt and both feel alone. And the real kicker is that both people are actually trying to protect the relationship, just in completely different ways. But instead of feeling like teammates, It feels like you're on opposite sides of the battlefield, one charging forward with a white flag, the other ducking for cover. And when it happens over and over, it creates a kind of emotional erosion. It's slow, quiet, and devastating. I see this so often in couples and individuals who are emotionally intelligent, self-aware, and doing the work. They know they're stuck in a loop. They don't know how to step out of it without making things worse. And when love feels this fragile, it's tempting to either outperform or shut down entirely. Either way, you start to lose yourself. Here's what I want you to know. This pattern isn't proof that your relationship is broken or that you're incompatible. It's evidence that your nervous systems are working overtime to keep you safe. One of you gets louder, hoping closeness will calm the storm. The other goes quiet, hoping that distance will stop the fire. It's the same fear, but with different instincts. This is where a lot of couples get stuck, thinking one person is getting too big and the other is getting too cold. But that's the wrong diagnosis. What you're really seeing is two people protecting old wounds with the only tools that they know. They're not overreacting. They're not overcoupled, which means your body isn't just responding to what's happening now. It's responding to everything that it's been through before. Your shutdown doesn't mean that you don't care, and their pleading doesn't mean that they're irrational. These are patterned survival responses built through years of what connection felt like in your earliest relationships. Maybe you learned that speaking up just escalated things, or that staying quiet was the only way to keep the peace. Either way, your body got the message: protect first and connect later. And these strategies worked. At some point in your life, they made sense. They kept you safe, they kept the peace, kept things moving. But now, in this relationship, they're not protecting your connection. They're blocking it. Because what once helped you survive is now getting in the way of feeling seen, steady, and close. The issue isn't that you're overreacting. The issue is that neither of you realizes that the pattern is taken over until the damage is already done. You're not trying to hurt each other. You're just trying to stay safe. But the way you're protecting yourselves is accidentally creating more harm. Until you see it for what it is, you're going to keep blaming each other instead of the cycle. Let's talk about what's actually happening under the surface. Because this pattern isn't just emotional, it's physiological. When your partner pulls away or you feel like you're being chased down in a moment when you actually just need quiet, it's not just annoying or frustrating. Your body is coding it as a threat. And once your nervous system registers a threat, logic goes out the window. You're not just communicating anymore, you're protecting. So let's zoom out for a second, because what feels like emotional chaos is often your nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do. In polyvagal terms, we're talking about survival states, and I'll keep it simple. Your body has built-in responses for danger, and relationships, especially the ones that matter most, light up those systems like a Christmas tree. If you're the pursuer, your system is likely wired to fight or fawn. You seek closeness to feel safe. If you're the withdrawer, your system probably leans more towards flight or freeze. You need space to return to baseline. It's like your body is scanning for emotional fire 24/7. And when it picks up a flicker, your partner's silence, tone, or tension, it slams the button. The pursuer hears the alarm and runs towards the smoke. Are we okay? Let's talk. Don't leave me hanging. The withdrawer bolts for the fire escape. This is too overwhelming. I can't fix it. I need to get out. And here's the twist. Both partners think that the other one is the problem. The pursuer sees the withdrawal as proof that they're being abandoned. The withdrawer sees the protest as proof that they're being attacked. And because these reactions are automatic, they escalate quickly. Nobody's pausing to ask, wait, is this about what's happening right now? Or is this about what my body thinks is happening? Your nervous system can't tell the difference between a lion chasing it and a rupture with your partner. It just knows that something feels off, and it kicks in with its usual protection plan. And unless you've learned to notice these cues, and that takes time, you'll keep reenacting the same fight with slightly different costumes. Same lava, different volcanoes. But you don't need to shame yourself for how you react. But you do need to understand it, because awareness is just the first step towards changing how your body shows up when love feels risky. So let's imagine what this looks like when the cycle isn't running the show, when the pursuer doesn't feel like they have to fight for every ounce of connection, and when the withdrawer doesn't feel like they're one breath away from being flooded. I'm not talking about perfect communication or some magical calm tone to use every time things get hard. I'm talking about recognizing the cycle early enough to pause, to pivot. So let me share what happened with a client recently when she started to notice this pattern and change it. So she told me that they had this argument and it started in the same way. But this time they caught it. She noticed that her chest was tightening, the urge to text her partner 6 more times, the rising panic, it was all there. And instead of charging forward, she said, "Hey, I think we're slipping into this pattern again." He didn't meet her perfectly, but instead of walking out, he said, "I know. I need a few minutes." And that was enough. The rupture still hurt, but it didn't spiral. It didn't last all night, and it didn't end in slam doors and silence. Why? Because instead of trying to win the moment, they both tried to see it. They stopped making each other the enemy and named the pattern as the common problem. That one move created enough space for regulation, for regrouping, and for connection to rebuild. And we can contrast that with what used to happen. She'd protest with questions, he'd get quiet and physically leave, and they'd both go to bed in opposite corners of the house, stewing in resentment. The issue wasn't just miscommunication, it was nervous system overload that neither of them knew how to name, let alone interrupt. So here's the big shift. When the pattern is in charge, you're just reacting. But when you notice the pattern and name it, even if it's awkward, you're relating. You're creating a tiny bit of space between the fire alarm and the fire escape. And that space is where change becomes possible. This isn't about never fighting again. That is not possible. It's about not letting your protection patterns be the ones steering the relationship every time things get hard. So what do you actually do with all of this? If you're stuck in the pursue-withdraw cycle, the last thing you need is a 12-step process or a perfectly worded script you can't remember when your heart's racing. You need something small, lightweight, something that works when your nervous system is lit up and your brain has left the chat room. Here's what I want you to try. Notice the moment your role kicks in and name the cycle. Not the character. That's it. No deep repair, no perfect behavior, no Jedi communication skills. Just pause and say something like, "I think we're doing that thing again." Or, "This feels like our pattern showing up." It sounds simple. And it is, but it's not easy. because your protection patterns don't like to be interrupted. They want to keep doing what they've always done. Your body will scream, "Fix it, explain it, run." But if you can plant even a tiny flag of awareness in that moment, you've already changed the script. You're not naming it to manipulate or force connection. You're naming it to create space. Space to breathe, for grounding, for choice. And sometimes that's all you can do. You say, "This feels familiar," and then you go splash cold water on your face. Or put down your phone. Or take 5 minutes before continuing the conversation. And I want to be clear. This is something you can do whether or not your partner is doing it too. This isn't a partnership move. This is a you move. A way to stop letting your survival patterns run every hard moment unchecked. A way to remember, I have more options today than I used to. So the goal here isn't harmony, it's interruption. If you can catch the pattern before it fully locks in, you're already doing something wildly different than your body learned in the past. And that's a big deal. If you're in this dynamic, I want you to hear this loud and clear. This isn't your fault, and it's not a flaw in your relationship or in your personality. It's a nervous system mismatch that makes sense. You are both doing what your body has learned to do when it senses danger. But survival mode isn't where love gets to thrive. It's so easy to get stuck in a story that you're either too needy or too distant, that if you could just stop spiraling or they could just stay present, everything would feel better. But this isn't about doing it perfectly. It's about interrupting the loop just once, just long enough to realize you're in it. Sometimes that awareness feels like a lightning strike. Other times it's a whisper. Either way, it gives you the tiniest bit of room to try something new, even if your partner doesn't join you right away, even if it's messy, and even if it doesn't land. You're still shifting the cycle, and that matters. This pursue withdraw pattern is one of the most common reasons people come to me feeling like they've lost themselves in their relationship. Not because they don't love their partner, but because they're tired of feeling like they're either chasing or hiding. And when you're the one doing all the emotional work, it's exhausting. But there is a way to move through this without abandoning yourself or villainizing your partner. And it starts with naming the pattern for what it is: a signal, a cue, a fire alarm, not a forecast. If this episode cracks something open for you, keep going. This is one of the core cycles that I help people break down inside my coaching work. You don't have to know exactly what to do next. You just have to stop assuming that it's all your fault and start getting curious about what your body has been trying to protect you from. If you've been nodding along during this episode thinking, "This is exactly what happens in my relationship, but I don't know how to stop it," I made something for you. It's a free 7-day email course called Break the Cycle. Each day, I'll walk you through simple steps to stop the same fight from repeating and start rebuilding real connection without shutting down, walking on eggshells, or trying to do it all perfectly. You can sign up at my website. I'll link it in the show notes. It's totally free. This isn't just about communication. It's about breaking patterns that are breaking you. That's it for today's episode of Coupled With. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to hit subscribe so you never miss what's next. And if you found it helpful, please share it with a friend or leave a quick rating and review. It really helps more than you know. And if you're curious about how we might work together or want more resources to strengthen your relationship, head over to my website, www.drrachelorlick.com. You'll find free tools, podcast extras, and ways to go deeper. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you next time.